You know, I thought I made the realistic helicopter when I did just speed detection, but this is truly a realistic helicopter. I mean, you can't, it's kind of weird how you can see the blades pulling away a little bit, but you can't fly this if the blades don't spin. It's really quite awesome. What's up, guys? My name is Khan, and we're back today in Scrap Mechanic with another new, cool, interesting thing that came about with this update. Now, with the potato gun update, the spud gun update, the devs actually added in the ability to write custom scripts. So the spud gun itself actually works using a script, and you can go in and adjust it. So for example, the reload time, the time between shots, you could adjust all these features and make them into a mod if you wanted to, and have rapid fire spud guns and all that relatively easily just by changing a few variables. But that doesn't really stop you from doing the same thing to all sorts of other blocks. So you might have seen on the workshop now, there's all sorts of things like, for example, the destructible parts mod and this mod, which is awesome. This one is really, really cool. It's the wing mod by DasEtwas, and I hope I said that right, but it's a really, really cool mod where he's basically got a script which creates 3 new pieces. So he's got this piece, and this piece. And what these pieces do is create wings, basically, and they're very, very simplified airfoils. They will actually create a vertical lift from a horizontal velocity, and they take into account the angle that the wing is at, which means as you tilt the blades, you can actually create more force, which is kind of how a propeller works. So we can actually look at, this is just a really simple example, but if we turn on this engine, a little faster, I guess, and we let it spin up to speed, there you go. You can see as it spins faster and faster, those wings actually lift the wheel off the ground, and that's because the horizontal force along the wing is creating a vertical force in very layman's terms. Now, this mod doesn't bring into effect lots of aerodynamics. For example, you could have like just a block that flies, and it's not going to really care about that, but it's still a really awesome mod to create sort of really natural flight characteristics. And then on top of that, we can take wings like this and put them on a propeller blade, and what this will do is allow us to create something that spins, and as you can see, it's spinning with a completely flat blade, so it's not lifting up at all. But then when we tilt those blades, you can see what'll happen. It'll actually create the force and tilt it up, and you can control how much force it is based on how much you're tilting the blade, just like a real plane does. So it's actually really, really cool mod. And of course, I decided to try making some propeller-based things, but first we're just going to look at how it flies. So it's very, very simple. We can set up a very simple plane. This literally took me less than 5 minutes. And this is really just a plane where we've got 2 forward thrusters. We've got 2 large wings. The tips of the wings are controlled by a steering bearing, so as we turn, we can create roll on the ailerons there. You see, we can roll the whole plane. And then on the back, we've got a W and S on an electric motor for the tail fin to pitch up and pitch down. And then we've got buttons 1 and 2 for yaw left and yaw right, which isn't really that bad, just set up on a controller with a dull bearing. It's a little bit offset. And then, of course, 3 just ignites the thrusters, so hopefully this is enough space. It might not be. We can, here we go. We're gonna lip off this ramp. This will be good. There we go. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Up. Okay, perfect. And so it's actually just a really natural flight, and you can see we just, oh boy, yeah, swoop. There we go. So I did try making a glider as well. Originally I wanted to try and see if I could make a glider, but the way Scrap Mechanic conserves momentum is pretty bad, and yeah, it just kind of, it glides for a bit, but then it really just falls down to the ground. But you can see very, very natural feeling flight, you know, and we're just controlling the tips of the wings like you would on a real plane, and all we're giving it is forward thrust. It's very, very awesome, and I'm sure the Scrap Mechanic devs have thought about adding a block like this into the game. I mean, aerodynamics would be a huge undertaking to do all sorts of, you know, wind resistance calculations and stuff. It's just such a cool experience flying like this, not flying with thrusters, and the main reason is because you can do stuff like this, right? So we can actually go like this and flip upside down, and the wings are symmetrical, and now we can actually fly upside down, which normally with a thruster-based creation, you would have to have, you know, a whole set of thrusters that rotates to do this. But you know what? We can just do this with the wing mod. It's kind of awesome. So after playing around with the thruster plane for a bit, I decided, you know what? I'm going to take this propeller concept and I'm going to try and make a propeller plane. Now, I don't know if I'm doing this wrong. I probably am. So we've got an electric engine hooked into thrusters here, right? So it's a gas engine, sorry. Gas engine hooked into this propeller, and then they're all on a controller, and the controller will tilt 30 degrees on each blade when which is a little bit extreme, but regardless, if we turn this on, it spins, and then when we tilt it 30 degrees, it does move it forward, you can see, but it doesn't move it very fast. And I've played around with the angle that the blade's at, you know, increasing the angle and decreasing it, and I can't seem to get the vehicle to move much faster than this on a small propeller, which, you know, this seems like it would be the proper ratio for like a plane, you know, if we wanted to make a small plane to have a single propeller that size, but we'll never get enough speed doing this to actually take off. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. You know, if you are watching this video, DasEtwas, I'd love to know how you're supposed to do this, and if that is the intention of these propellers, or maybe it just isn't powerful enough to do that. I did make a Gyro-Copter, which does work, in fact, but we'll get to that in a sec. And then the other thing I did is I noticed, okay, well, maybe it's just the gas engines that aren't powerful enough. So I did use the mod pack to get these little single thrusters, and I put them on it instead, which spins it much, much faster. You can see sometimes it freaks out, but still we don't get much faster speed. We do get a little bit faster speed. You can see there we are moving a little bit quicker forward, but still we're not going to get enough to actually take off with this. So I don't understand how you're supposed to do that, but regardless, I took all that and I applied it to a gyroscope, and I said, okay, we'll use the mini thrusters on the gyro because, you know, the mini thrusters give us lots of power. And then I actually had to make the whole thing a coax, because when you spin something really, really quickly, you create a force, like a gyroscopic force, and you have to counter that. So these are actually two counter-rotating rotor blades. It's a little bit messy because they actually pitch the rotor blade to move you up and down. And then these two are two counter-rotating forward and reverse thrust blades, I guess you can call them. So these ones, one spins one way, one spins the other, and again, you control the pitch on these. So there's a lot of controller bearings. It's a little bit weird. You don't have any roll control on the gyro, but it actually keeps itself pretty stable. So you do have pitch on this back and yaw, so we'll take a look. So really simple. We've got the yaw control surface, turns those back two fins. We've got pitch, which is on, I believe, 4 and 5. And you just set the pitch. Generally, you'll see when we're flying, if you're flying forward, you want to set the pitch down a little bit. It'll keep your nose kind of in a good position. And then on the other controls, we've got 1, which turns on everything. Of course, all the blades are horizontal, so they don't do anything. And then 2 and 3 are actually the pitch for the top blade here. So you see if we hit 2, very, very, very slowly, it moves on looped controllers. So again, when you let go, it'll stay in whatever position it is. But you can see there, it has angled the blades on the bottom up, and it's angled the blades on the top up. And then if we press 3, it'll angle those back flat. So when we keep it flat, it'll just spin. It won't actually take off. And by controlling that, you can actually control how fast you go. Now, you can increase that indefinitely. You can keep putting 2 up and up and up. Eventually, you'll make the blades vertical. Of course, if you do that, you won't get lift anymore. So you gotta be very careful when you're flying it. It's sort of finicky. If we hold W, it'll tip those back blades. You can see there on the rotors. And if we hold S, it'll tip them again in the other direction. And that's, of course, to give you forward and reverse by spinning those back 2 propellers. So this vehicle has thrusters, but none of the thrusters are used for lift. All the thrusters do is counteract each other and spin the blades really, really fast. The entire vehicle flies with airfoils, and it's a pretty awesome vehicle. So here we go. We're going to turn it on, let it rev up to speed, and then we're going to hit 2, and we're just going to hold 2 until we get up into the air here a little bit. There we go. You can see. So we've gotten past that point. Now you can see we're tipping forward a little bit, so it's not a big deal. All we do is we just take these. Oh, no, I hit 3. Wrong button. Wrong button. Hit 2. There we go. Come on, up. Okay, let's tip it. There we go. Let's just lift a little bit faster. Perfect. It loops in, I believe, 2-degree increments on the controller, so you have relatively fine adjustment for the thing. And now we should be able to just tip this here, and we'll just hold W a little bit until we start moving forward. And W. There we go. Now we got some forward velocity, and then we just tip that tail down. You can see, and it'll keep our nose kind of level. And there we go. Now we are driving with our gyro, and then we can turn left and right. You can't turn on the spot. You do have to have some forward velocity to turn because it uses the, the back propellers. But you can see there, it'll roll a little bit, but then when we let go, it'll actually stabilize itself. And I think that's just the spinning of the blades on top that kind of naturally stabilizes it. And then we'll just drop off the throttle a little bit here. It's a very, 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 very slow vehicle. Again, I can't figure out how to make a propeller give you a lot of forward force. And we'll take a look at one more creation I started working on, but it never worked out. And I'd love to know how to use this mod a little bit more properly. Obviously this works, and we've got an actual proper gyrocopter, which is just fantastic. It's like the coolest thing. It's so slow, but it's such a great vehicle just to sort of float around with. And of course, completely realistic. You know, I thought I made the realistic helicopter when I did just speed detection, but this is truly a realistic helicopter. I mean, you can't, it's kind of weird how you can see the blades pulling away a little bit, but you can't fly this if the blades don't spin. It's really quite awesome. And we can just float over there. You can see we're just floating over the spawn point. Now, landing is a little bit more difficult. I'm not so good at the landing. It doesn't go any faster. You know, if you keep holding W, you're not going to get extra speed out of it because you're just going to angle the blades more and more. And eventually the blades will slow down again. So you got to try and find a nice balance of speed. Seems like we're doing pretty good here. Look at this. It's just so cool. All right, let's bring her back down, though. Let's just hit 3. Just tap 3 a couple times until we slowly start dipping. Oh, that's too much, too much, too much, too much, too much, too much. And we're so screwed. Yeah. That's the problem. If you gotta be very, 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 very gentle on the pitch. But anyways, really cool gyrocopter. I am gonna upload it to the workshop. It does require 2 mods. It does require the wings mod and of course the mod pack for those mini thrusters. But I really love this gyro. I think it's so cool and it flies just super smooth. So before we go, there is one other thing I wanted to look at, and again, I really hope DasEtwas watches this video and really takes a look at it, because I'd love to know from the mod creator how the wings are supposed to work, because I wanted to make a sort of osprey, and so I made this shell, and you know, it took me not too long. I might still use this shell for something else. It's a pretty cool sort of shell design, and so you can see we've got just a little bit of a plane in here. I've put some control surfaces on this as well. You can see there we've got 2 wing pieces there, a wing piece there, a couple there, and then also some wing pieces on the back here. And inside these wings, they're actually hollow, and I've put wing pieces inside the wings as well to kind of give it that ability to fly. But I ran into some issues when I was trying to wire up the props, and I wanted to make this an osprey, so vertical takeoff, and then it would flip the props into a horizontal position and fly like crazy. But I ran into the issue where, for some reason, and maybe this is just me, now these are the small blades. I had larger blades on it originally. We hit 4, they'll start spinning up to speed. But here's the problem I ran into, right? So they'll spin pretty quick. They'll never really generate enough force. Can't seem to spin them fast enough, even if we, let's just turn this off. All right, so we've got both sets of thrusters cranked up on max. We've got our blades tilted, so we'll just turn them on. And you can see there, see what's happening? See how they just kind of, like, oh, there, that one just completely, see how they, yeah. See what, we're not really, oh, I mean, we're kind of generating lift. Yeah, well, I guess. I mean, sort of. Yeah, no, this is good. This is intent. This is perfect. But you can see the problem, right? So, I'd love to know how to make something like this fly with propellers. I mean, maybe I need to put thrusters inside of it to give it some assistance, and then, you know, potentially put propellers on it just to do that last little bit of force. I turned it off. But anyways, guys, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this mod. I think it's a super awesome model. Of course, include the links for that and, of course, for DasEtwas in the description down below. Make sure you guys leave your suggestions and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button while you're at it. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see y'all next time.